morning, everybody. Good morning. Today, my message is titled Manifesting Our Destiny. And this topic is kind of one of those that could go in all different directions. And we can look at it like, what is our destiny? Does God have a plan for each of us? These are questions maybe that you've had in your own mind, or maybe that you've thought of over the years. How do we manifest? That's always a good one. And can we use the law of mind action or the law of attraction? I like this little game plan here. I know it's not football season, but Warren can appreciate that, right? And Matha and Dee Dee, if you see him start to lean, just tap him a little bit, okay? But anyway, when we look at this, we can start off with the idea of destiny. So let's see what Fillmore defines destiny as. Destiny is the goal toward which man's own thoughts are leading him. And we know this, don't we? In the beginning, he was destined to bring forth God's perfect plan, and he must eventually reach this supreme goal. You know, Reverend Warren and I totally agree on the idea that babies are born with this strong connection to God, and they have this instinctual knowing of that divineness, and that as we get exposed to the human concept, then it starts changing some. And then man's destiny is to go from glory to glory. And that's old terminology, but we can call it that man's destiny is to go from good to good. Now, we talk a lot about our thoughts, and that's kind of where the law of mind action comes in. Hey, Sam, do you have these lights turned down a little bit?
Yes, you need them up?
Uh-huh, please. It feels like I'm shadowed or something. Anyway, we talk about our thoughts a lot, and we know that is around the idea of the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind.
Follow after their kind.
Yes, follow after their kind. And so when we think about the idea of manifesting our destiny, we can start off with that idea of our thoughts and where they are at and where they are going. And that can change everything. That can change everything that we do in life. But what happens when we start having these thoughts, our thoughts actually start creating goals for us, believe it or not. We might not even be aware of the goals. And the goals might look like good goals, and they might not look like good goals, depending on our thoughts, correct?
Yes.
So what we start manifesting maybe as a goal might not be even something we're controlling. We think that we want to set a goal and say, oh, this is how it's going to happen and this is how it's going to be. But if our thoughts are tangled up in some other thinking other than aligned with truth, with capital T, truth, then our goals probably are not going to get manifested the way we wanted them. And probably, yes, they probably won't get, more than probably. But anyway, and also they can veer in different directions than what we had originally planned. So this is where manifestation kind of has to be worked out through our own thoughts first. But as we all know, that if you are unhappy, the only person who can change it is who? You. Is you. And that's the thing about our thoughts. If we want to have a different life or see things differently, then it's up to us to do that. Nobody else can come in and throw you a party and make you feel good. Because if you are in that mindset, then guess what? Nothing's going to affect and change that mindset, are they? No, nothing. And so, man's destiny, when Fillmore says, is to go from glory to glory, then we have to see what we are affirming as truth. Because capital T truth is always good. But what we can put in our minds and think that, oh, this is the truth, you know, so-and-so's on drugs and they're going to be that way forever. No, that is not the truth of who they are, is it? No. Oh, that person's always mean to me. They're always trying to get me fired or whatever the situation. That is not the truth, the capital T truth. But we feed into that stuff, don't we? And our thoughts go crazy. And that's what we're going to end up with our life. It's going to keep following that path if we go there. The truth that God is good and God only has good in store for us is what can change our thinking, believe it or not. If we remember that simple truth. When we absorb this truth, our thoughts will do everything in its power to align with it, and we will find the good in everything and everyone, no matter what. But our aim should be to look at the good in everything and everyone. And that sometimes seems difficult on the human condition, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. But if we take a breath and we move into that spiritual aspect of ourselves, it's an easy place to shift to, believe it or not. We don't have to stay in that place, because if God only wants us to experience good, then what should we want for ourselves? Good. That's right. We should want that good. We should long for it. We should not allow the human condition of who we are in this human state of mind to control what God's plan is for us. Right?
Right.
Yes.
Yes. And what is God's plan for us?
Good.
Good. That's right. It's that easy. But once our thoughts start changing, that's where we can move into manifestation. If we can get our thoughts to align with God, God only wants good for me. So you start having a negative thought, or you start thinking somebody's against you, or that somebody's causing you some pain, or that you're feeling sad, or you're feeling unhappy about something, all you have to do is go, wait a minute, that's not the truth of me. God is good, and God only wants good for me. That will make you start manifesting your destiny, believe it or not, just by having that thought. Because that's where manifestation hooks up, is where our thoughts are. So, and it all works on the idea of manifesting, starts working on the idea of development. And believe it or not, Fillmore defined development in the Revealing Word as this: the increase in conception and expression of the qualities that belong to divine mind. What's divine mind? God, the universe, whatever you want to call God. That is what divine mind is. Increase in conception and expression of the qualities that belong to divine mind. And we know those qualities are good. So if we want an increase of good, we just have to align with that good. It's simple, isn't it? So we develop this idea. The development or correction of all present ideas underlying one's manifestation, and the training of them to conform to the divine idea of man. The divine idea of man is what?
Good.
Good. So all we have to do is start thinking about truth, that God only has good in store for us. We are good. We are here to express good and embrace good. And guess what? It's going to go up just like that arrow. The good in our life is going to go up. And the key to that is to realize that when you see that every little thing, you start looking at it in a different way, believe it or not. Every little thing will become like a new view. It'll be a new sensation within you, because you're bringing forth that good. You're bringing forth more and more of that good. And man, that can activate some happiness within you. Because it won't be anything you can take away. It won't be anything that you can erase from your life. It will be there, and it'll keep churning you forward. It'll be like this little nudge on your shoulder saying, hey, let's have some more of that. And you'll want it, and you'll desire it, and you'll continue to manifest it. And that's what our true destiny is about. And then you might say, well, how do I do that, Well, you have to get rid of all that negative thinking. And this is a perfect time of year to do it, believe it or not, because it's the season of Lent. And in Lent, we know we are supposed to, I like this, fast and feast, the Lent book. And it's very helpful for you. But you fast on things that you don't want to focus on, and you feast on the good that is there. And that practice for 40 days puts you in that place of pushing out the negative and embracing the positive and saying, wow, I want more of that. I really resonate with that. Pretty soon you won't even want to read the fasting, because you've already taken it out of your life. And you'll look at it and go, God, I can't believe I ever felt that way. You see what I'm saying? Yes. Yeah, we won't have to even worry about that. And so, in this time of fasting, we're getting rid of that old negative thinking. And I've shared this before. It's from Pope Francis. But I think it's a really good thing to read, and we're going to read it together. There's 2 slides for it. So let's do that. Fast from hurting words and say kind words. Fast from sadness and be filled with gratitude. Fast from anger and be filled with patience. Fast from pessimism and have trust. Fast from worries and have trust with God. That's right. I'm sorry. And contemplate simplicity. Fast from pressures and be prayerful. Fast from bitterness and fill your hearts with joy. Fast from selfishness and be compassionate to others. Fast from grudges and be reconciled. Fast from words and be silent so you can listen. And these are huge. And it can help you practice changing how you're looking at life. And these two will start manifesting good in your life. If you start taking heed to them, I invite you just to take one, every couple of days and just focus in on that one particular one. It's on Facebook if you want, or just Google Pope Francis's Lent words, and you'll get it. But what it does is it activates that truth within us. Yeah, that's a good idea too. If you got your phone, you can take a picture, but you're only going to get one half of it, Sandy.
Can you go back?
Yeah, I can. We'll see if anybody else wants to take a picture, and then we'll go change it real quick. But what happens is we activate that truth within us, that capital T truth that is God moving in and through us. And we also start recognizing who we are on a spiritual level, which is what we are here for, isn't it? We are all here to grow spiritually, so we want to find ways to activate that spiritual being within us. And then, of course, we know that we inherently possess this truth. So all we have to do the minute we flip that switch, it's gonna be like a neon light just glowing in the dark and be shining out brightly. You ready for the other one? Yeah. So, and the thing is that this is the deal. It's always easy to do if we practice. It's always easy to switch that thinking. But what happens is we tend to get in that place of that mental condition where we are living in lack, aren't we? Where we start seeing all the burdens in our world, or we start seeing all the burdens in our life, or we start stressing over our financial condition, or we start stressing over the fact that we might not have that perfect relationship we'd like to have, or we stress over just silly things like even going to the store and they don't have what you want. I've seen people get all riled up about that. Big old fit over not having something, because we live in this immediate world where we think we're going to get immediately satisfied. And all we really need to do to satisfy ourselves is stop and take a breath and feel that within ourselves that is truth. Because once we do that, all the other stuff won't even matter. It really won't matter. But we do tend to look at it like it's all just a problem. But this is where the law of mind action and actually the law of attraction can actually help us, because we know that what we focus on will produce in our lives. Okay, we did that. So if we are only seeing burdens, struggles, or problems and can't see the good underlying these challenges, then we are not going to manifest good from them. Don't you love this? It's like all of it just oozing out of a box, being such a burden. But that's true. We have to start seeing things not as a burden or a struggle. No matter what it is, let it go. Say a prayer. Take a breath. And know that the truth of you sees beyond any lack or limitation. And everything we are doing in our lives, we don't want to see it as a challenge. But if you think it is a challenge, then this is the definition of challenge. A challenge is an objection or query as to the truth of something, often with an implicit demand for proof. That's our human condition, the demand for proof. How many times do we know something in our gut? We know it in our heart. We know that the truth is this, but yet we allow something else to change that because we want proof, by golly. We might even have seen our kids pick up a $20 bill off our table and take it with them, but then we want proof. Why? What do we need the proof for? Our thinking starts getting distorted. Instead of saying, oh, they took the $20, who cares? I've got more 20s coming. Don't get caught up or hung up in other people's behaviors or your reaction to their behaviors. It's all about moving through it with ease and grace. That's where manifesting starts becoming more of a spiritual aspect or spiritual production rather than just we can all say, and BJ's great with this, I got to have the parking space right close to the door. Now, if we focus enough, we will get the parking space right close to the door, won't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we will. We will. It's inevitable, But we can also get beyond that and say, I want the best and healthiest drive that I can have to church, and I know that I will be comfortable wherever I'm at, and embrace that. And it's all a way of thinking. Instead of, some people come in for something and they say, I had to drive around 6 times before I found a parking place. I said, well, good for you for finding a parking space. But no, they're stressing over driving around 6 times. And going on and on about the 6 times. I said, well, good for you. You got a parking space. I just reiterate that because that's the joy. That's the best part. Why worry about the 6 times around? But we look for the proof when we don't even need to. It's so exhausting, isn't it? When we try to look for proof for everything in our lives. I'm not meant to have that. That's true. I know it because of 20 years ago when I wasn't nice to my kid. And they, it's coming back to bite me in the rear. No, don't even go there. But people do. They let that human condition change how they think and what they do. The other thing we got to watch about this demanding proof is the fact that it can show up in us if we are challenging the capital T truth and looking for proof of how that is, when in our gut and our heart and our soul is saying, this is the truth of you. You are a child of God. You are a spiritual being. But if we fight that or look for proof for that, guess what's going to happen? It's going to come and show up in our bodies as chemicalization. It will show up in some way to make us realize that we are trying to fight something that is the truth of us. On a spiritual level, you can't fight truth because truth is good. And if it's good, then we have to embrace it, or else it will. It'll be like a clash of the titans with our bodies. And if there's something in your body that's hurting, now I'm not saying you don't need to explain to a doctor or something if something is wrong in your body, but if there's something happening in you, the first question should be, is there something I am thinking right here, right now, today, that is causing this conflict in my body? You might not get an answer right away, and it might not ever come. But in your heart and your soul, you'll know if it is from that. And it could be a conflict that happened that 20 years ago from your, doing something to your kid or whatever, spanking them or whatever you did. I'm just saying, it could come forth and you not even be able to explain what it is. But the whole thing is, if we go back to prayer and we go back to centering, it's a release mechanism that allows whatever it is to pass. Allows whatever it is to pass. And so chemicalization won't necessarily happen, or we'll move through it knowing that this was something I was supposed to synthesize and take away. However, when we explore something as a spiritual being, I just said that, and enliven the capital T truth, all questioning goes away. We no longer have to have proof. If it is a capital T truth, it is truth. In fact, we will have a desire to go deeper with our spiritual understanding, which will strengthen our ability to see and know God. Every time you spark something within you, if you've heard something today, or you sang the songs, or the meditation, or something sparked something in you, that's your spiritual growth. That's what you want to manifest more of in your life. That's what you want to capture and go, wow, that little thought electrified me. It's like plugging it into the wall and going, whew, that did something to me. It enlivened my soul. I want to explore more of that. Focus in on those little moments and let them grow within you and grow without from you. And you will be manifesting more and more of your destiny. Trust me on this. It will happen for you. It will be so wonderful. I love this because, this next quote, because Buckminster Fuller was a 20th century inventor and visionary. He wrote, You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a model that makes the existing model obsolete. So when we have those negative thoughts, we're going to take them and we're going to let them go. And we're going to embrace those little moments of glowing moments. You know, those moments that I just talked about. That one little word or that thought, or maybe it was the PowerPoint slide, maybe it was the song of the energy, or somebody just giving you a big hug today, or somebody praying with you today. Whatever it is, you're going to take that moment and you're going to plug into that and allow that to expand. And that's a different model, a different plan than what you've done in the past, isn't it? Because in the past, if we want to change something, we usually what? Fight it, or say, no, that can't be because I can't do that, or whatever. But if we want to have true manifestation, we have to know and believe that that is our path, that that is where God is leading us, that that is our destiny. And every moment of that destiny should be good. I want to hear you. Good. That's right. So we want to allow that to happen, though, too. When we're on that path, when we're activating that spark, we have to be able to allow God to keep bringing that forth for us. We have to, like, you know, some people use the word surrender. I like to say it's just the idea of saying yes. Because yes to me is still keeping your own power. Some people think of surrender as like, oh, I have to give everything up. No. Say yes to your good. Say yes to what you want and move forward with that. So what stops us? It's our own minds, isn't it? Our own thoughts are constantly churning information. Now, this is a perfect example of how our thoughts work, believe it or not. Because have you ever laid in bed and at night and you remember talking to somebody, or you were doing something and you never finished talking to that person, or you didn't finish doing what you were doing? It's because we've allowed our minds to go off in another tangent and not stay focused on that one moment. Well, what do you think happens when we have good? We do the same thing, don't we? We have something good happen. Oh, this is great, this is good. And then the next minute we're sad and depressed. Instead of just staying focused on that good and that electrifying energy that is there in that moment. I mean, the minute we think of something that brought us that kind of joy, you know, our kids being born, adoption day for the boys, whatever, graduation, seeing our kids graduate from high school, whatever, graduate from kindergarten even. I mean, whatever the things are that bring us that little bit of joy, we can turn back to something that is in our memory and focus on it and say, oh yeah, I remember that joy. That's where I want to stay. I want to stay in that good moment and build from there instead of allowing our minds to churn it all up. Now, our minds are on overload most of the time, and I really have for years attributed this to the media. Because, you know, when we were kids, here we are saying when we were kids, but when we were kids, commercials were at least a minute long. Some commercials were 3 minutes long, believe it or not. So they were at least a minute long. Then they started getting to 30-second commercials and then 15-second commercials. And when I sold my business, they were selling 7-second commercials. And I was thinking to myself, how do you get a message out in 7 seconds? Well, now watch most commercials. It's like this. It'll be 7 seconds, but here's how fast the images come. The images will come faster than the words, but they'll come like this. You know? So they can even get like 10 images in a second, believe it or not. And so they've sped up our minds. And on top of that, we've gone into electronics. You know, our phones, our laptops, all that stuff, which is great. And it's a beautiful thing that gets us a lot of information quick. But it's also a speed up. How many times do we yell at our computer or our phone saying, oh, hurry up? Yeah, because we're in this sped up world. Instead of taking that breath and realizing that just having a phone in our hand is a good thing. Who cares if it takes 30 seconds to go to where I want to go? Who cares? But we started thinking so fast and getting our minds all going like this. I love this gif about this, just everything churning up in there. So we have to take back control of our minds and go back to that spiritual truth of who we are, and that we don't have to allow our minds to get all, you know, gobbly-gooped up. We can just take a breath and say, oh, I'm so glad I have a computer. I'm so glad I have this opportunity to watch a TV show. I can mute the commercials or go to the restroom during the commercials or pause it and come back and zip through the commercials and watch my show, whatever. But I'm just saying we have to take control of our thoughts. Every single thought that's in our small m mind, from just even allowing the commercials and the media to take over, is not necessary. So it goes back to us being, like Reverend Warren said in his meditation, being instead of doing. And we have to go there. And this is important. We will never be satisfied with our destiny if we live in this mindset of hurry up and churning up. We won't. If we're living like this, we will never be happy in our own destiny, in what is happening in our life on a day-to-day basis. But we have to stop. We have to stop and breathe and just be. The word manifestation, metaphysically in the revealing word, is this: the materialization of a truth idea, the coming forth into visibility of that which has been affirmed, the appearance of an idea. So we don't really manifest anything that's not good. That just happens to us and in us, in our world around us, as the human aspect. You got me? You might think that you brought something on, but you cannot bring on anything negative or anything that's happening to you. Yeah, you can go out there and drive your car and crash it into a wall and say, oh, well, it wasn't me. Well, that's the human aspect. It was you. You did drive it into the wall. But spiritually, that doesn't change anything about who you are, except for the fact that you have to tell the truth and say, yes, I drove the car into the wall. But you have to be able to sit there and know that a truth idea coming forth into visibility, all that joy, all that good sensation that you feel, everything that happens to you in the world that is good is manifestation. And the only way it will come forth is if you affirm it. So if you want good in your life, what do you have to do?
Affirm the good.
Affirm the good, that's right. Affirm good. And change your small m mind away from all that other stuff and allow it to be where it needs to be in everything. And this formula is so great for us to do, just to take that breath and see the appearance of the divine idea coming forth. You know, sometimes we want to be in such control of every thought we have that we think we have to do it a certain way. But we don't. Just having the idea sometime and putting it out there in the universe can be a beautiful thing. We've all done this. We've all seen an infomercial. And we said, oh man, I had that idea 10 years ago. Well, you should applaud yourself if you did. Because you're having the thought of that idea might have brought that idea to that person who could manifest it. And maybe at that point in your life when you had the idea, you weren't ready to manifest it. Because you didn't see the whole picture or see the good that could come forth. So anytime you have that, celebrate the good. Don't think somebody's taken away your good or that, oh man, I deserve that. They don't. No, that isn't the way it works. But I invite you right now to think of one thing that might be a challenge to you. One thing in your life that might be a challenge. Everybody got one? Yeah. Okay. So think about it for a minute. Think about that challenge. that was bold. No, that's good though.
My heat went out yesterday.
Oh, okay. So what is the underlying truth of your heat going out? Well, yes, she was cold. And the truth is that you want heat.
Yes.
Capital T truth is that you want to stay warm.
Yes.
So there's lots of ways you can stay warm, right?
Yeah.
You can get more blankets. You might have to get a whole new system. They might come in and replace one little part, $20, and your system's working again. So there's all different kinds of ways, but what's the first thing you think of? How much is that going to cost me? Might not be for you, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So see, we could go to that place of just going down the rabbit hole, I call it, or we could know that, hey, I just want to be warm and comfortable and be able to turn my thermostat when I want to. Hold that thought and see what happens. We had a TV that went out, and it sat down in the basement for 2 months, and he was going to fix it. And he had it out on his workbench, and the thing was taken apart, and the little resistor things were, I forget if they pop out that it's no good or if it's when it sinks in, I forget. But whatever they were like that. And he showed it to me and I said, well, maybe we just have to order the resistors. And he looked up the parts and they were, because there was like 6 of them or something like that were out. So we just left it sit there. And so one day he went down there and he says, you know what, I think the TV fixed itself. Sure enough, he put the thing back on, brought it back up, plugged it in, it worked perfectly. So you never know exactly, like maybe your heat went out, but maybe, you know, you just don't know. But you can't get, like when the TV went out, we had a smaller one downstairs. Yeah, it's like this big. We had to move the couch up to the TV wall to be able to see it because, you know, it's like, it was not like the big one, you know. So I was like, okay. And we were like this 3 feet from, and Aiden was baby, so he always stood up at the table that the TV sat on, so he loved it because it was just like we were right behind it. He couldn't walk it. But anyway, you never know what will happen, but we have to hold that idea. But back to holding on to the challenge, whatever the challenge is. You know, we say we have a health challenge, but what do we tend to focus on? The challenge. Yeah. Instead of the idea that the truth is health. We say, oh, I have a health challenge. We think that makes it, instead of saying, you know, I've got the flu or I've got a cold or whatever, we just say, oh, I have a health challenge because that makes us more unity. Which it does. I mean, I like it too. But, you know, the thing is, we have to focus in on the health, not the challenge. And that's what we tend to do. The heat went out, so we focus on the heat going out. No, we see ourselves warm and comfortable and being able to be where we need to be. We have to do that. So whatever it is that you thought of just now, think about what the underlying truth is.
Summer's coming early.
There you go. You're going to love that air conditioning. Anyway, but think about what the underlying truth is and focus in on that. And that's how you'll change that manifestation of whatever it is that's happening in your life. The challenge will go away. It will go away. But we have to hold to that and not let every little reaction affect it, right?
Right.
Okay. Let's see where I'm at. So here we go. True manifestation of a divine ideal will be life-changing, from the smallest bit of joy to the full abundance of all there is. Do you believe that?
Yes.
I totally believe it, and I totally see it. And there are times in my life that I have manifested things out of nothing. And I was in a place at the time, I didn't even know I've always said I was a spiritual being, but I wasn't going to church anywhere or doing anything, but it was like an inner sense that you get, you know, that pushes you forward, that says, yes, do that, or try that, or be that. And when you know that, when you are tapped into that truth within you and your soul is on fire and your spirit is alive, you'll know that that good is coming forth and that you can keep on that path. And after doing this message, I know God sent it through me for my own good, not just for all of you, but I want to enliven more of that in my life. I want to keep that fire going all the time. And whether it's with that new campus, whether it's with this ministry right here, making, you know, what we have right here be the best that it can be, instead of just staying stagnant and saying, it's going to come. I'm not going to go there anymore. I am going to see it manifesting and bringing forth our destiny that we are all holding for. And I invite you to try to do that with me, because I truly believe we can do it. We have a lot of power in this church. Do you believe that?
Yes.
I believe it. Well, I know without a doubt that together we can bring forth all we need and desire in life by manifesting our destiny. Thank you for being here today, guys. Well, as God would have it, too, I found this really cool